Welcome to Bean and Bracket Factory, and welcome to the latest series of videos about my Wragg Austin 7 Special. Now, if you've seen any of my previous episodes or previous videos, you'll have seen that I basically re-engineered lots of aspects of the car. I did the rear suspension, the front suspension, what else did I do? Oh, the braking system. So when I finished all of that, what I basically did was to take it all to pieces again. Now the reason I've done that is that I want to now systematically rebuild it and make it as nice as I can, whether it means painting things or finishing things properly or fettling things or drilling things or doing whatever I need to do to make it as good as it can be and as nice as I can make it. So now I've already started. So what I'm going to show you now in this first episode, called the Winter Rebuild, is what I've done so far, and I basically put a few things together and created a rolling chassis. And what I will then do in subsequent episodes, and I don't know how many they're going to be, maybe 5 or 6, systematically rebuild the entire car, get it running, and take it for a drive and or racing, who knows. So at least you'll get to see pretty much every aspect of the car. So settle down and let's get started. Chassis is basically pretty much standard 1932 long wheel-based Austin 7 chassis. It has a few modifications, but not many. First main modification is because the engine is sitting further back in the chassis, it's got these tabs welded on, one just there and one just there on either side, so the whole engine moves back. It's got this complete under tray that's been welded on. That's not a standard Austin 7 thing. It does retain the cross members. There's one here and there's one at the back. The difference is that the outrigger section has been chopped off and sort of fabricated closing plate has been put in just in there. This is what an original chassis cross member would look like. The main difference is that on the modified one, you've got to make this cutout bigger because the gearbox sits further back, so it takes more of a cutout. You can see here it's also been modified for a master cylinder. Now, if you saw one of my previous episodes, you know that I've done away with that design. My master cylinder is no longer underneath the car. It's somewhere else, which you'll get to find out in a later episode if you keep on watching. What else? That's about it for the chassis. So next I think we'll have a talk about the engine and gearbox. So what you're looking at here is an almost standard Austin 7 engine and gearbox. It's the forward facing starter version. The only modification that's apparent here is two. One, it's got a slightly more sophisticated aftermarket cylinder head. It's called a Ricardo head. And the other modification is that normally on a 7 engine you have a dynamo just inside here, but this has been modified and the dynamo has been chopped out in the middle and you've got this stubby distributor drive. And the reason I've done that is so that I've got clearance for when the bodywork basically comes up here. So apart from that, it's pretty standard. You can obviously do quite a lot to modify these things. You can supercharge them, you can do all sorts of things, different clutches, pressure fed, crankshaft, etc, etc. And I do plan to do pretty much all of those for a later incarnation, but for now I'm going to keep the engine as it is. The gearbox is, again, it's an Austin 7 4-speed gearbox. Normally the gear lever will come straight out here, sort of right up here somewhere, but this goes backwards for a remote gear shift mechanism, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that's pretty much it regarding engine and gearbox. So a quick chat about the clutch and gear linkage mechanism. The clutch, it's a standard clutch inside there, but the main change is that the clutch lever is now on the other side. Obviously in this car it's a single seater, so you're straddling the clutch and the drive shaft. I did have a brake pedal running off here, pivoting, but that's all been changed now for a different brake pedal arrangement. But anyway, I fitted a longer shaft, and now the clutch pedal, and it's a standard clutch pedal, runs off the other side. So that's the clutch. Gear linkage. This is obviously not remotely standard to an Austin 7 because I've created this mechanism so that I can have the gear shift offset to the left, so I can change it using my left hand and not sticking up between my legs, which I didn't really want to have. So this pivots from side to side, and obviously when it rocks over, it transposes that movement to the gearbox. So that's going between first and second, third and fourth. You have to, in order to get it into reverse, you have to basically lift that. But that's easy enough to do. In the rare event that you want to put it in reverse, basically just lift this bar with your right hand and push it across with your left hand, and then the whole thing goes backwards and forwards because this shaft rotates on these bushes in the end, and obviously that selects first, second, third, fourth and reverse. So that's the gear linkage. Now for the actual drivetrain itself, it's a standard Austin 7 drive shaft. It's the later type with the Hardy Spice, I'm not sure, but it's not fabric couplings, that's for sure. Goes through a standard torque tube, and then it's through to a D-type rear diff, which is the later type of diff. If we just go round the back, we can have a quick look at that. There's the diff there. Inside there is a standard differential, which is a spur gear diff. These diffs were designed to handle a few horsepower, but they are handling up to sort of 90 horsepower on blown cars. So that's it really. Any more to talk about the diff? Not a lot. It's got a different crown wheel and pinion in there, different ratios, but apart from that, it's a standard mechanism. The front suspension is where the design deviates significantly from a standard Austin 7. And it's actually much more akin to the works cars of the 1930s. So what we have is a beam axle, and this has got this articulated joint in here, just there, and that allows one side of the axle to rotate with respect to the other side of the axle, which is what it needs to do as it goes up from side to side. It tries to twist this axle, so that joint is needed to stop that twist, or allow it to twist effectively. The whole thing laterally is tied in at this end. Let's move this wire out of the way. It's tied in at this end. So the spring maintains the position of the axle laterally. So this bracket here locates the axle to the spring. And on the other side, you've got a single drop link. That can swing from side to side, because as you go up and down, the effective length or width of the spring changes, therefore that link compensates. Now the whole thing is tied into the chassis by these two trailing arms, radius arms, whatever you want to call them. The bottom one is a slightly beefier one that ties in straight to the chassis. With this, there's a sort of it's like a half dome kind of cup and ball inside there. So the whole thing is free to rotate this way, but also can rock very much slightly that way, as it needs to do if one side goes up or down. The top link is tied in to this top point. These are actually both Austin 7 track rod ends, so same as that. And you can change the caster very slightly, although it's set at 7 degrees as it stands. I can change it plus or minus about a degree changing the length of this top one, but hopefully I won't need to do that. These steering arms are specially made. They are significantly longer than the original Austin 7. It allows me to have a completely straight track rod, which means I'm not going to have any risk of it sort of flexing under load or vibrating or resonating. This is specially made item, which is a much kind of beefier drag link arm or steering arm, or the end of the drag link. And the dampers, they're not actually shown yet. They'll appear in a subsequent episode, but these are the damper drop links, and these basically hook into some friction dampers which sit just there. So that's the story so far. So I hope you like that. I hope you found it interesting or entertaining or whatever. If you did, then hit like. If you want to see what happens next, hit subscribe. If you've got any comments, please ask away. Anything you like, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. And that's pretty much all for now. Until next time, thanks for watching.